Hey, what's up guys? Chad here with the Reptile Rangers. Now we are going to talk about issues in the Chinese water dragon today. Now before we get into this, right here in this corner is our subscriber button. If you're on a cell phone, just widen that screen up, go from your small screen and go to the full screen and you'll see the subscriber button right there in the corner. Hit that subscribe button, we appreciate you doing so. Now let's get right into this. We have done an episode and a few episodes about water dragons or involving water dragons, things like that. And we had somebody ask us about doing common issues that we would deal with as a medical facility in the Chinese water dragon. So let's get started. I absolutely love, probably one of my favorite lizards that I get to mess with is the Chinese water dragon. I love tegus. Bearded dragons are awesome, commonly kept, but a really underrated lizard is the Chinese water dragon, also like the Uromastyx. Uromastyx are really cool desert species that's very underrated. But the Chinese water dragon, a lot of people see these big green lizards called the iguanas, and they're like, oh man, I want that big old lizard sitting up there. Yeah, that's a rarity. The great replacement or substitute for the iguana is the Chinese water dragon. Absolutely amazing lizards. And you can see how cool they are. Look how beautiful. And you can see he's right there, that big old male. This is a male-female pair that we have right here in this exhibit in the zoo. Now, let's get right into this and talk about common issues that you may see or that we deal with on a day-to-day basis when it comes to the Chinese water dragons. First, right out of the gate, is obviously going to be metabolic bone disease, okay? MBD, and we do have the episode on MBD, just look down in the video section, down the line of videos and go to MBD. I'm not gonna get deep into MBD because we have a full video on recognizing and dealing with that issue. But MBD is a huge factor, especially when it comes to the Chinese water dragons and especially in captivity. People will keep them in tropical habitats, that's great, that's what they're supposed to be in. They absolutely love water and they're in thick, really dense canopy, forested and jungle areas. However, that also limits their exposure to sunlight. Now, in the case of the wild, these guys will actually go and find places where sunlight is coming through so that they can sit in the sunlight. Sunlight, UVB, they have to have to keep MBD from happening. UVB or calcium with vitamin D3 additives. Now, in captivity, here's where the problem comes in. People won't do both sunlight and UVB. They don't do both. And so without the UV exposure, hence comes MBD. Again, refer to the video from before. Now, make sure you're giving a good amount of heat and a good amount of UVB exposure along with your calcium and vitamin D3. Next would be dystachia, okay? Now understand, which is also called egg binding. These guys are really prone for becoming egg bound. Understand that when females, like this girl, when she's pregnant, they have to have a certain amount of heat in order for their eggs to fully come to fruition like they're supposed to grow and form, and the embryos inside do what they're supposed to do and be viable, okay? Now, when they come to the point of being ready to lay their eggs, if it's not warm enough, if they don't have a good enough lay area, then a lot of the times they will retain those eggs. They'll purposely retain them until they can find a spot that's suitable. So if you're gonna have a female, and yes, females can lay eggs without ever mating, okay? Make sure they have a good place with substantial digging area or area where they can lay their eggs. And make sure it's warm enough too, because if it's not warm enough, then they're not gonna process those eggs. They're not gonna push those eggs out as well as they would if they were warm. If they're cool and they're too cool, then that's also going to cause them to slow down. They're going to harden a little bit more. They may not be as soft and it may not be as easy for them to pass those eggs, which will cause egg binding. It'll cause them to stay stuck inside of them. All right. Now, another one would be parasites, intestinal parasites, also external parasites from bacteria, from fungus, so on and so forth. In really wet environments, there can be a lot of fungi, okay, or bacteria that runs around in really moist areas. So always be making sure to be watching out for any kind of bacterial infections on the skin. Now, the last one would be mouth rot. The last key thing to watch out for. Mouth rot is a huge thing when it comes to water dragons because they will run into things a lot of the times. They'll rub up against stuff, but they'll just take off and all of a sudden just go bam right into the side of a glass or the screen or whatever, and that can cause mouth rot, okay? Now, also, we have an episode on mouth rot. Go check that one out for additional things that can cause mouth rot in the video section, okay? Again, now, I'm going to explain one of the things. For years when we first started the actual medical center side, 12 plus years ago, we would get a lot of Chinese water dragons that come in so malnourished and lethargic that it was ridiculous, okay? And I want you to understand something. We would do, I guess he was trying to join her on my shoulder. We would do medical assessments. We would do things like what we call protein shakes. We've created all kinds of medical treatment when it comes to reptile medication. And we would do something called a protein shake. And it would get their health back and their metabolism back. It would get their energy back. You would start seeing them build, I mean, just gaining great size very, very quickly. And then all of a sudden they would just be dead. Why? Because of internal or acute organ failure. When they're without substantial water and substantial food for extended periods of time, that does damage to the organs. And even though we give them something like on the old battlefield, World War II, they would give them a shot of adrenaline, it'd be like, whoa, yeah, here I am kind of concept. It would pump their adrenaline up and try and keep their heart pumping and everything moving so that they could do whatever they were supposed to long enough to get them back to a field hospital. Come here, sweetie. Get them back to a field hospital so that they could be worked on and fixed up. Well, it's no different in a malnourished situation. Protein shakes and high protein things, even carnivore care diet, insectivore care diet, all this different stuff is meant to give them that high boost that they need to their immune system to get their systems functioning. But if there's already damage to the internal organs or to the anything from the digestive tract, to the liver, to kidneys, to the heart, to the lungs, if there's any kind of damage already there that is massive or major damage, the immune boost to the system is not going to help that cause. It's going to help them put on a little bit of weight. It's going to help them get energy back, but the damage is already done. And so we see this a lot when it comes to water dragons due to the fact of just improper care and a massive, massive cause of malnourishment, okay? Now, hopefully this has been helpful, gives you some insight and some things to look out for when it comes to these very, very beautiful animals. Absolutely love the Chinese water dragons. Now again, this is Chad. We are the Reptile Rangers here at the Kernersville Reptile Zoo and Medical Center. Make sure to hit the subscribe button, the like button. Make sure to hit that bell for notifications, notify you each time we put up a video. If you need to get in touch with us, our information will be in the description below. Has our phone number, has our address and everything. We have people writing us, texting us, calling us all the time, asking us questions, needing our help, and that's fine. That is what we're here for. Happy to do so. So feel free to get in touch with us anytime. Feel free to leave a comment. Write us in. Let us know of other things you want us to film about, other topics, other ideas, medical questions, the zoo, how to keep things, what to feed things, okay? We appreciate you following along week after week after week. We'll either see you here in the zoo or we'll see you in the next episode. Later.